Alright, so I guess let's begin with. I guess we're starting this in best of one, because I have no clue how this deck is going to function, and therefore trying to put a sideboard to it is kind of insane. To start with the basics, this deck is going to be a standard deck that's mostly built around Bitter Reunion, Invoke Justice, and Sanctuary Warden as like the actual way that it's going to win. So we're mostly white. We are a Reanimator list, and Sanctuary Warden is our reanimation target top end alongside Wandering Emperor, which means by and large we aren't necessarily the world's best Invoke Justice list. But for the most part, what we're actually exploring here, besides just the Bitter Reunion, Invoke Justice, Sanctuary Warden, Haste synergy, is a couple of different ideas simultaneously that are mostly all exploring ways that we might be able to abuse Grixis in Standard, since that is the most popular deck. And specifically, the few ways that I want to test to see if. No, let's restart that statement. I want to test if these couple of things are actually good against Grixis in a way that's particularly relevant. So, first off, we are not playing any creatures other than our 6-drops, which means we're not going to play any creatures that Grixis gets to use all of its removal on. Now, we have stuff like Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, Restoration of Eiganjo, and Wedding Announcement at the 3-drop slot to give us blockers, which means that their removal isn't dead, but none of these are actual good one-for-one premium removal targets. So we're basically trying to build our deck in a way that kind of makes most of Grixis's cards awkward and not perform at full efficiency. Secondly, and kind of related to the first, having no creatures that the opponent gets to use removal on also means that there are no creatures in the graveyard from us, which means that we do a good job of not enabling Corpse Appraiser. And, of course, Grixis can put its own creatures in the yard. They have a lot of discard outlets, and thusly enable Corpse Appraiser. But, by and large, on the first couple of turns of the game, when they want to be curving out, that means that they would be discarding a real card to enable Corpse Appraiser to draw a real card. And that's not actually card advantage, that's mostly kind of just keeping things even. But even beyond that, assuming they do play creatures and we have to remove them, we're leaning on Laydown Arms as our removal spell of choice, so we're trying not to put their creatures in the graveyard either. So they're going to have to get them there by discarding. We do have 3 Abrade, which does mean sometimes we'll actually kill some of their real creatures. I feel like this is kind of necessary because we're not an aggro deck, and we're actually going to have to stop the opponent from getting free access to all of the card advantage out of Reckoner Bankbuster. So, the Abrade seems like a necessary evil. I don't love using it on a 2-drop creature or a 3-drop creature, but we'll see. And finally, we have a ton of enchantments between the Restoration, the Wedding Announcement, the Fable, the Bitter Reunion. So we should do a pretty decent job of making Invoke Despair not super scary. Now, the biggest downside of all of that is that we really aren't doing a lot at 2 mana, and Restoration of Eiganjo is only ever getting back a land or Bitter Reunion, which isn't necessarily bad, because getting back lands with the Restoration of Eiganjo does mean that you got a ramp spell that flips into a relevant object that they have to deal with, and that kind of works with playing 6-drops and 5-drops, but it limits Restoration of Eiganjo in a sense. Hopefully Bitter Reunion is just going to be a powerful enough thing to get back with the Restoration of Eiganjo that we mostly get to avoid that problem. But we also just don't have any 2-drop creatures in general, that being a consequence of not wanting to play creatures, which means that it might be possible we just kind of get out-tempoed. We're also a Reanimator deck without a huge number of reanimation targets, and weirdly enough, we are a 2-color deck with mostly a bad mana base, as we are playing 4 Cabaretti Courtyards, which do kind of synergize nicely with the Restoration of Eiganjo. You get to discard other lands to get back the Cabaretti Courtyard, so we're gaining additional life via our mana base multiple times. And we have pretty reliable fixing for Invoke Justice, with only 2 lands in the deck that don't cast it. We have 5 lands that don't count for laydown arms, and everything the Restoration of Eiganjo does counts for laydown arms. So hopefully with filtering, we'll do a pretty good job of being able to like lay down arms Sheoldreds pretty rapidly. But we are also trying to play all of these 2-drops on our splash, so we are scraping the bottom of the barrel of acceptability on our number of red sources for this many 2-drops. We technically have 13, which is technically enough in a 60-card deck, but 9 of them are tap lands, meaning we have to play them on turn 1. And we don't really want a Cabaretti Courtyard for a mountain if we don't have to. So it's kind of sketchy. Hello, Chris. No Portal into this Reanimator? No, I don't think Portal is very good. The reason that we're not playing Portal, in addition to it just being pretty expensive to hardcast, and not necessarily synergizing with Bitter Reunion in the same way that Sanctuary Warden does as a hardcast, because Sanctuary Warden with haste getting to trigger twice is cool, is that Grixis plays Abrade, and Sanctuary Warden is slightly immune to Abrade, and slightly immune to Go for the Throat. Whereas, yeah, Portal, if we're doing this thing where we are sort of pseudo-invalidating their Abrades, they'd be pretty likely to have it. And Portal just isn't a very good card if it gets Abraded. Like, if you're okay with a triple edict out of your reanimation, and that's good enough because of what the rest of your deck is doing, then Portal's fine. But I don't think this deck gets enough advantage out of triple edict for it to be the appropriate top end. And I suspect most decks don't get enough out of a triple edict right now for it to be an appropriate top end against Grixis. The last thing to note that I want to keep in mind as we evaluate this deck will be one of the consequences of not playing creatures is that our deck does a really bad job of having counters on creatures for the Sanctuary Warden. And I don't want to remove shield counters from Sanctuary Warden, because having 2 shield counters on Sanctuary Warden's pretty great against Grixis. So ideally speaking, we would like to remove counters from other things, because all of their removal for Grixis is either a 5-mana edict that gets invalidated by citizen tokens, or 2-mana single target removal that gets blanked by shield counters. So the fact that we can't remove counters from other stuff easily is kind of a concern. What we do get is Invoke Justice and Wandering Emperor, both of which synergize pretty strongly with Sanctuary Warden, because then we're not removing shield counters, but none of our 2-drops, none of our 3-drops do so. And that's not ideal. We'll see if that's kind of damning. I don't expect it to be, but eh. Soul Transfer will make us very sad. Yeah, we're kind of just going to be pretty poorly positioned against Soul Transfer. Luckily, the existence of Go for the Throat has made Soul Transfer a lot less common. And also, the fact that Esper is becoming less common and is less commonly playing AO has also meant that Soul Transfer is less common. But yeah, that is a tool that Grixis has that will be sad if we play against it. Can't decide if it says good things or bad things about this standard that you've gone this far off the deep end. Now, you're going to need to be more specific. Do you mean the concept, the amount that we're targeting one deck, or do you mean just the mana base? Because any of those 3 things is off the deep end, and I need you to be specific about whether you mean one of those, 2 of them, or all of them. Perfect. All right, let's jump into this. It's true. This isn't that far off the deep end deck-wise. It is a little off the deep end inspiration-wise. What matchup do I think this is weakest against? I don't know. I don't have a super strong notion of what all decks are in Standard, so to speak. Hypothetically, this shouldn't be very good against Farewell control decks. Just because most of our, like, incremental mid-range advantage plan is all tied up in enchantments that get bullied by Farewell pretty hard. I'm also... One of the reasons that I'm not even actually sure this beats Grixis, and the reason this is testing that concept, rather than, like, saying the deck beats Grixis, is this deck probably also isn't super good against counterspells. And Grixis often plays lots of counterspells. So, like, hypothetically, there might not be any good matchups for this deck. Which makes what do we think it's weakest against pretty tough to analyze. Alright, we're jumping into best of one. Grixis, mono-white mid-range. We should bully mono-white mid-range. That does not sound like a matchup we're bad against unless they're also playing a bunch of Farewells alongside being mid-range. Soldiers, that's probably not good. It might not be bad. Is it ramp? I don't know what to expect against. Probably not good. This doesn't do anything, so let's mulligan. This also doesn't do anything, so let's mulligan. And now we're desperate, so let's keep this. Alright, so we're immediately playing against Esper. That could be an issue. We get to hold up Abrade. Which, yeah, we should probably kill the Trespasser so that our Fable has nothing to block it. We're gonna have to be careful with the Sanctuary Wardens, lest the opponent get a chance to exile them with Graveyard Trespasser. But I might just have to discard the Warden. Second Trespasser. Yuck. I do think that I probably discard the Warden now. That we've seen two Trespassers, and we're gonna either reanimate this Warden or kill this Trespasser with Abrade. So let's just do our best to draw Invoke Justice. Plus a land. I just realized we didn't also draw a land. So then we're gonna kill the Trespasser. Alright. No third Trespasser, please. Yeah, I titled this that we're trying out not playing creatures, which is sort of a lie. We're not playing creatures in the sense that we are not playing creatures that go into the graveyard on the first couple of turns to get hit by Corpse Appraiser. And, like, that angle is good against Grixis. But we do sort of have creatures. So in a way, this is kind of clickbait. Make disappear Urtai? Yeah, I'm definitely not willing to jam Invoke Justice into this. Especially since we drew, like, the only flash creature in our deck. Or, well, flash permanent. I think portals aren't very good in this archetype. So I didn't want to include them. Like, I think Portal is just pretty bad against Grixis in general. There's a Flesh Gorger, which means the opponent's on a version of Esper that is about reanimating or flickering stuff, typically, which kind of makes sense with Graveyard Trespasser.
Run away. You'll be safer. Guards,
They're working really hard to hold up a counter spell. So we're still not going to run out this Invoke Justice. Which does result in the Wandering Emperor dying. I wonder if I was supposed to uptick Wandering Emperor twice on the Goblin Shaman. Have I started playing best of one? Only when I don't want to figure out how to do a sideboard. What was the reasoning for not saving Fable? The reasoning for not saving Fable was I forgot that March of Wretched Sorrow was not Go for the Throat. So that would have been a good idea. Also, did they just use a removal spell on the card they could kill for free? Cool. I'll take it. What do I think about any Izzet decks in Standard currently? I think there's a couple of fine Izzet decks. Awesome! So we get to do our thing where we reanimate Sanctuary Warden. The Izzet ramp deck is pretty reasonable, but I don't think that it's particularly favored against Grixis. Do I have the ability to play Bitter Reunion and Invoke Justice and activate Bitter Reunion? I don't believe so. We're actually going to draw a card here, so let's just not spend any of these treasures. We want one counter here. And one counter here. And two counters here? Does that feel right? No. I should probably put no counters on the Sanctuary Warden. Oh, right, I have to remove one of these. I guess then what I'm supposed to do is attack Teferi with 2 4-power creatures. So they have to chump block and take the Teferi to 1. The alternative is I could remove a shield counter from Sanctuary Warden, but that still wouldn't guarantee a kill on Teferi, so I think doing it this way is for the best. Am I putting Grixis as the best deck right now? I am putting Grixis as the most popular deck. Which is not the same thing as the best deck, but it's functionally very close. Keep the Flesh Gorger. Interesting. Alright. Hold on to Garden. Bitter Union off treasures and send the Warden also guaranteed dead to Teferi. We only got the 3rd treasure off of the attack, so we would have been able to give Sanctuary Warden haste too late to make the attack happen. Oh, Grixis' command is pretty annoying. I get that wasn't a card that was on my radar. I guess that was a reason to keep the 5/5 around. Have to bear that in mind going forward. If you were to put your spin on the current Grixis deck, what would you change? Not very much, other than I think that Grixis is mostly better if you don't play Invoke Despair and play Evelyn's instead. That's the only real change I would make. If I offer this trade, what do we have in Standard that I guess Cut Down blows me out. There's no... Is there a 1-mana Malakir Rebirth effect that would bring this thing back as a 7/5? I feel like I recall there being something like that. Either way, not gonna block. Let's bit a reunion. Don't think I strongly need to gain life, so we'll hold on to the cycle land instead. Restoration of Eiganjo is pretty reasonable. Attack with everybody, not fight the Flesh Gorger because the opponent's broadcasting having something pretty hard. Play Restoration. Play land. Stop in our first main phase to decide whether to sack this Bitter Reunion or not. Because if we sack the Bitter Reunion, we can get it back. Or the opponent can sack the Bitter Reunion for us. That works too. I will gladly sack my 1/1 and my Bitter Reunion. And now the Bitter Reunion is in the graveyard. Thank you, opponent. I was a pretty strong proponent of playing Evelyn over Invoke Despair originally, just the idea being you get to base your deck more around flash interaction that way. And like, I think most decks right now are built to beat Invoke Despair, with ironically the exception of the Grixis Mirror, and I would rather just be playing flash card advantage threats in the Grixis Mirror than a 5-mana sorcery card advantage threat. Well, alright. Discard a Plains. Get back a Bitter Reunion. Discard a Plains, draw 2 cards. Draw more lands. It's awkward. Cycle! There we go. Okay. Play a Plains. Invoke Justice, Sanctuary Warden. I would like a bunch of counters. Thank you. Counter here. Counter here. I guess I probably want the Goblin token to be the largest token. So let's blow up, or let's remove a counter from the Samurai. Let's Bitter Reunion. Let's swing with everything, see where that gets us. If I remove a counter from the Goblin, this is still lethal at the moment. I probably should have laid down arms to Flesh... I probably should not have laid down arms to Flesh Gorger on account of that killing me, actually. So not doing that was probably a good idea. Even if they could have had a flicker effect here. Ugh. Does it make sense to run a copy or two of Steel Seraph? I don't think so, because we don't want to play Steel Seraph on 3, since Steel Seraph dies to removal, and then turns on Corpse Appraiser, and isn't a very good blocker anyway, and we're not an aggressive deck, and we already have like too many 3-drops. And also it's a pretty vulnerable to removal piece of top end too. But hey, this kind of functioned. I mean, Sanctuary Warden seems pretty good once it gets in play. Grixis command is a concern that I have to think about. That was not on my radar, but could be a vulnerability for this deck. Invoke Justice representing like 9 damage with haste is much cooler than I was originally kind of thinking of. I knew that it could give haste and get more triggers for the Angel, I kind of forgot about the part where it also just means you're attacking with a giant creature, which can actually make the opponent dead. Bankbuster has removable counters, yeah, that is one of the angles I was kind of thinking of for the 2-drop slot. But makes the opponent's Abrade actually have a target, which could be good, could be ungood. Hard to say. We'll keep this. Alright, don't hate Sokenzan. Or rather, I don't hate Cabaretti Courtyard. I do sort of hate the number of... Ugh. Yeah, Resolute Reinforcements is not a card we are well equipped to deal with, unfortunately. Sky Strike. That we are well equipped to deal with. So we don't have a lot of planes, which means if we actually draw laydown arms, that's going to be kind of awkward. Oh, cool. No attacks. Sure. Let's kill that. Interesting choice here between Fable of the Mirrorbreaker and Restoration of Eiganjo. Against soldiers, which am I supposed to prioritize? Huh. I don't have anything to get back with the Restoration other than Cabaretti Courtyard right now. Which would mean Wandering Emperor next turn. Flipping Restoration's probably a bigger deal. I'm gonna go with Fable, but I'm not actually convinced this is correct. Valiant Veteran. Double Valiant Veteran. That's not fun. Oh, that's true. Cathar is in the deck, which probably made Restoration the better play. I agree with that. That's some lands. Alright. Attack with a 2/2. No blocks. Sure. We're gonna Wandering Emperor, a Valiant Veteran, I guess. And if that gets countered, we kind of just lose. Could I Ganjo the Valiant Veteran instead, which is safer from a counter spell? Why attack into the 3/3s? Because if they blocked, I could play Wandering Emperor and uptick. Killing one of them worth losing Wandering Emperor? I feel like it kind of is. Because it does mean we're gaining a lot of life functionally. Alright, so Bitter Reunion's certainly interesting. The fact that this thing flies is a problem. You cost 3 mana. Kind of have to discard Restoration here, right? And I guess they're both functionally not very useful at the moment. But Fable actually providing an earlier blocker might matter. Invoke Justice. Again, the opponent could have a removal spell here. I could downtick Wandering Emperor, attack, invoke Wandering Emperor. I think I'd rather try to force the opponent to attack in here.
I have got new moves to teach you.
I actually don't mind. That's pretty awful. I don't mind losing Wandering Emperor. The trouble is that I don't actually think they're going to attack Wandering Emperor anymore. Yeah, if we were going to have a chance against soldiers, I feel like drawing laydown arms would probably be pretty important. But as it stands, without them... This is just dead no matter what I do, huh? Well, maybe not. I didn't do the math, but let's find out. But drawing laydown arms feels like it's probably going to be pretty important in this matchup. We need that kind of tempo advantage. So 2, 2, 3... 2, 2, 4. Nah. Zephyr Sentinel. Too strong. And even then, our removal being sorcery speed's pretty rough. Probably not a matchup we're ever going to win on the draw, I don't think. You have very, very, very few tools that are relevant against them by virtue of not playing the creatures that would be relevant against them. It might be possible that a hand that just gets a quick reanimate on a 6-drop has a chance, though. This will keep. I'm not very confident about a hand that doesn't do anything until turn 3. But this could be worse. We could be playing against a deck that wasn't playing Evolved Sleeper. Where are all my laydown arms? Alright, well, again, kind of getting aggroed out while I'm not able to do anything. Which does feel like a risk of a curve that is almost entirely centered on 3-drops. I think we play Fable because it gives us blockers at better times. Weirdly enough, I feel like this deck really would want Teachings of the Kirin for a 2-mana card that synergizes in a lot of way with the rest of everything, but doesn't fit into the mana base at all, unfortunately. Nope, no 6-drop. Unfortunate. Okay, so there's a chance. We might just get there by doing mono Wandering Emperors for the rest of the game. Yeah, Cathar does eat Sanctuary, that's true. We might just not have a way to fix the Soldiers matchup. Brotherhood's End would not be playable off this mana base, I don't think. Alright, Sorcery Speed Evolved Sleeper's fine. Opponent just electing not to attack is questionable, but I very much appreciate the opponent helping me out here.
Let your blade do the talking.
This is one of those examples of playing so hard around Wandering Emperor that you accidentally do a line that's worse against Wandering Emperor than just playing into Wandering Emperor. Because I'm allowed to just make creatures with Wandering Emperor. That's fine. Okay. Sure. So I guess that's another way we could choose to play around Grixis commands sometimes. Opponent, you can't just do nothing forever. It doesn't actually work.
I guess that's that. May your blade strike true.
Eventually we draw a 6-drop, and that'd be good. But for the time being, this is fine. Would Cityscape Leveler be a good target? Nah, it'd be good if we could give it haste reliably, but not having an ETB effect and needing to actually survive a turn cycle before it does anything is kind of awkward. And it's also pretty hard to hard cast.
We must protect.
There we go. Alright, now we're talking.
Show them how we greet our enemies.
What to put counters on, or remove counters from? Probably the Warden. I think one shield counter ought to be fine. If they Grixis command us, we get to start invoking this Sanctuary Warden back over and over and over. Kinda want to kill the Sanctuary Warden, to be honest. That's probably a mistake. We could always just invoke Justice back a Planeswalker. Alright, I'll block. I don't actually mind if the opponent kills this Sanctuary Warden at the moment. Okay. Oh, hey, another Sanctuary Warden. That's cool. What do we do then? Probably want to play the first Sanctuary Warden. To play around more Grixis commands, I kind of don't want to remove this 1/1. I almost wonder if I should invoke Justice here. I kind of think I should, rather than play the Sanctuary Warden, as sad as that makes me. But I think I just get this up to 5, and this up to 4. Put that up to 5, and then attack with everybody, and then remove a counter from Wandering Emperor to make our 1/1.
You're going to rest in pieces.
Okay, so no blocks. What am I supposed to think of that? I guess maybe I'm dead to just a bunch of single target removal and I didn't really think about that. Oh, okay. This seems fine. Weight on Arms is actually kind of good, because it does hit tokens, but doesn't hit the lethal flyers, so I think we're fine. I'd like to block that and chump block that. Alright. I feel like the way the opponent played that, they want to be playing a mid-range deck. Which... playing a mid-range deck is fine, but you gotta have a mid-range deck and not have an aggro deck that loses to a mid-range deck when you stall out the game. Because in an educational sense, what happened there was the opponent choosing to play around cards turn after turn after turn and accrue value. But they were accruing less value than me because their deck was less efficient at making value. And so in reality, by playing around my cards over and over, they actually just extended the game and were worse off. Like, we're not only worse off if I had it, they were also worse off if I didn't have it. So, like, just attacking and playing into the card was, on many of those turns, much better than sitting back and letting me continue to accrue value. What do I think of Razor Lash Transmogrant? I believe that I don't remember what that card does. It's like a 3/1 that if your opponent controls some number of non-basics, costs less or something to bring back from the graveyard, tapped? Something like that? I don't know. Definitely keeping this, because this seems good. Alright, drawing the mountain means that I can just play the Cabaretti Courtyard and get a white source and not have to worry about any tough decisions whatsoever. Perfect. Ashnod? Oh no. I've got to assume that killing Ashnod is not a high priority. So I think what I want to do is just get my Tormenting Voice developed. Perfect. The other Tormenting Voice we'll have to save for Invoke Justice. We've done a good job so far of having discard outlets for Invoke Justice, but I'm not sure if that's, like, something the deck actually has enough of, or if it's just been coincidence so far that that's worked out well. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess what we're doing here is discarding Sanctuary Warden and hoping they don't have Graveyard Exile, because my next couple of turns are spoken for. Let's go ahead and exile the card, because we have the time to do so. So I guess we're probably not playing Wandering Emperor this turn, then? Oh yeah, we're not playing Wandering Emperor this turn. Cabaretti Courtyard, gaining life is good. Lay down arms. Not a bad time to draw Abrade. One of the very few instant speed spells in our deck. Intrepid Adversary. I am really glad we can Abrade that. Hot diggity. Alright, presumably the opponent attacks us with a couple of creatures. I am not surprised. This is one of those positions where I might have actually been more worried if they had attacked us with 1, instead of doing 2 additional damage and denying themselves a 2/2. But they don't know that I have no board wipes in my deck. So understandable that they would not view that as scary as I do. I would love to remove a 1/1 counter here. Alright. Sanctuary Warden, how good can you do for us? Although I gotta say, really wish Sanctuary Warden had a way to gain vigilance. That would be a big deal. Blockety. Savity. Yeah, the trouble with Elspeth is we managed to play a lot of 3-drops that really don't play well with Elspeth, unfortunately. Wanting to invalidate opponent's removal and wanting to make Elspeth good kind of require you to go in 2 different directions, I think. We're certainly playing a lot of 3-drops, but not a lot of 3-drops with high impact. Yeah. I think we just bid a reunion here, play our untapped land, and pass on Wandering Emperor. I could swing with Sanctuary Warden. I don't think I want to swing with Sanctuary Warden yet. I think I want to Dirtle. My opponent's attacks are pretty miserable if I hold back. Unless they find an exile for the Sanctuary Warden. So we're just gonna keep hoping that doesn't happen. Alright. Gix. Swing to try to trigger Gix. Sure. Play Wandering Emperor. They have a response here. What could that be? Or they're just holding full control. Instant speed removal spell? I don't think instant speed removal spell changes any of this. In all likelihood, they're probably just going to use it to kill the Sanctuary Warden. Which will be pretty good. I don't think it's Eiganjo with the Eiganjo already in play. Most decks don't double up on those. Could be Destroy Evil. I don't think Destroy Evil is a card most decks are main decking right now. Some are. I tend to think that you shouldn't, but some definitely are. So they're probably going to blow up Sanctuary Warden at the end of our turn. Which I'm going to try to play around that by attacking with Warden. Use a lot of lands. I'm sure that's fine. Let's make some more blockers. Let's make some more blockers, I think. And let's gain some life. Okay, it was Destroy Evil, but I played around that as best as we were able. Swinging with the Angel does mean that they could untap, play Wandering Emperor, downtick on the Angel. Yes. But I don't think that's the scariest use of their mana right now. Ooh. Alright. Don't love the flyer. That's a concern. Oh, never mind. We have clean answers to AO, and that makes me happy. Hey! Oh, we get to do a lot of stuff this turn, don't we? Alright, land drop. Get rid of the opponent's flyer. Sanctuary Warden. Should have upticked before that, but oh well. Uptick on... I don't know. 3/3 with Vigilance.
Remember your training.
Bitter Reunion. Swing. Swing. Remove a counter from... probably Wandering Emperor in case of Grixis command, I guess? So we're sacking the 2/2 here so we can lay down arms of the Gix. I don't know if that's right, but it feels pretty fine. Definitely seeing some impressive use out of laydown arms here. We could ignore Gix and keep the 2/2 around, but on the off chance the opponent has... I don't know. Main deck Path of Peril, which doesn't strike me as likely, but would completely wipe my board and make for a very bad attack if I don't kill the Gix. I don't know. I probably don't need to kill the Gix there. So I suppose saving it plays around a second AO? Maybe? We probably can ignore the Gix. Gix isn't really a threat. Well, we seem to do a pretty decent job if the opponent isn't running us over with aggro. I do really want to play against Grixis, though. But it might be that I'm not actually going to get to play against very much Grixis in Best of 1. Okay, we'll keep this. It's one of those positions where we have to fetch the mountain, and I don't love fetching the mountain, but probably should fetch the mountain. This is essentially a ramp deck into Warden. We both ramp and reanimate, which is kind of part of the power of having 8 3-mana spells that sort of ramp you. I think I just jammed the Wedding Announcement so that when they counter it, I can actually resolve the card that makes a land drop, and then hope that they don't have 2 counters. Alright, we're actually playing against Grixis. Radical. We did, however, run into counter into Fable, which is putting the opponent pretty far ahead of us already because they actually got to use their mana on turn 2. Yeah. We hit a land drop, we can invoke an angel. Well, that could be good. We'd have to draw a land drop. And have the opponent not have the ability to hold up mana, which is pretty unlikely with Fable in play. That's not a good enough land draw. Bummer. So now we're going to have no discard outlet for this Sanctuary Warden. Unless we make it vulnerable to Corpse Appraiser. That's pretty bad, huh? I think I just gotta make it vulnerable to Corpse Appraiser. I don't really have an alternative option here that's good enough. This is bad. Not just this game, but like conceptually. The fact that we just... So Make Disappear is the card that I was kind of expecting to be good against this deck, I suppose. It's every other 2-drop out of their deck that we feel like we have a chance against. But make Disappear into Fable. Jeez. Alright. All the everything. Fable, or Make Disappear is kind of just wrecks our game plan at every single stage of the game. Alright, well that's a start.
Much during my travels. Let me show you. My judgment is fine.
So Go for the Throat's finally gonna have a target. Meaning upticking Wandering Emperor isn't very helpful. Down-ticking Wandering Emperor also isn't very helpful, though. Kinda want to see if we can bait the opponent into attacking one. Oh, no, Go for the Throat. Okay, that's a good sign. Sure, Invoke Despair wipes the board. Very well. Do you have a counterspell?
Now you've done it. That's keep watch for intruders.
Abrade finally gets a target. That would be kind of fine. We'd still be able to invoke Justice at that point. Okay. Guess let's force them to attack this Wandering Emperor.
To me.
Weirdly, we're not playing the world's worst mid-range game, even with no angels here. I think I'd rather Abrade the Corpse Appraiser than the Blood Token. I think we go with Wandering Emperor here. I don't know whether I take this 3 damage. I'm going to assume not against a deck with Invoke Despair.
I've learned much during my travels. Let me show you. Keep watch for intruders.
Okay. Well, opponent's still got a lot of cards. Definitely holding on to that with the number of cards we have that
Guards, to me.
discard. This Restoration would be a lot stronger if we actually had the ability to turn it into a Tormenting Voice next turn. Kind of don't want to invoke Justice this turn. If we play in that sequence, why let token attack? Okay, that's fine. Why let Witch token attack? Well, it's not fine. It means we're dead to Invoke Despair, but that'll have to be fine.
I'll be back.
No answer to Bankbuster without an Abrade. That's a problem. More lands. Yuck. Invoke Justice being really weak with 0 creatures on board is kind of an issue. Huh.
You started this one, but I'm going to end it. I am almost sad to see you go.
Yeah, the Reckoner Bankbuster is tough to handle. Really need an angel. Alright, Fable's not terrible. I am pretty worried that if Grixis command is becoming more stock out of Grixis, that this whole plan might not be super viable. It just gives them too many main deck answers. We have the 3-drop legend that blows up artifacts and enchantments on ETA. No, we already have kind of too many 3-drops, unfortunately. So there's the full suite of cards out of Bankbuster, and now we're falling real far behind without anything equivalent of our own. There's Abrade. Much, 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 much too late. It does feel like we're pretty reliant on drawing that 6-drop Angel, which probably is too much to have to rely on to beat Grixis. Block, Braid the Bankbuster, see if they have negate. Actually, I guess we go with Wandering Emperor first to see if they have a counterspell for that. And then I don't activate Wandering Emperor, and then I Abrade Bankbuster, and that keeps me from dying. And forces them to sack something if they want to make disappear the Wandering Emperor. Yes, okay. So this did in fact turn out for the best. Still need to answer the rest of everything else, but turned out for the best for now. Portable Hole not in Standard, true, but also I think Portable Hole is slightly weaker in Standard. It's not super well positioned against Grixis. It's not terrible either, though. Draw Restoration. Transform Fable, but we didn't draw a creature to copy with it. So, die, chump block Shieldred. Oh, die, can't chump block Shieldred, so die. It's also worth noting that we're kind of obligated to save Lay Down Arms to kill Shieldred. I forgot the Angel, our 6-drop, doesn't actually gain any life. I thought for some reason when you did this, you gained 1 life for the ability. Which means that the Angel also kind of just gets burnt by Shieldred really fast. In fact, we actually don't have any life gain? Is that right? Haven't seen the list yet, but if you're truly playing no creatures, are you playing Chaotic Transformation? Transformation's a 6-drop, right? That's pretty expensive. It would mean a lot of Angels, though. That could be interesting. I guess that would be a much stronger reason to actually play like a Miser's copy of Portal, huh? This... it doesn't do anything, but why not do something eventually? Emperor downtick in the land, that's true, that's true. Do I want to deck thin? I probably just want to be able to grab plains rather than mountains. It's a strong enough reason to play the Jetmir's Garden first. Oh, that's true. Steel Seraph is an artifact if we wanted to try to do something wacky with Chaotic Transformation. Well, I'm misremembering. Does Chaotic Transformation, like, actually cost 4 mana? No, I wish. 6 mana is a lot of mana. Alright, well, we're on the draw, so we gotta kill that thing. Just wonder if 3 transformations are better than 3 angels. If we went that route, only having 3 angels means that we really couldn't do the Invoke Justice thing, I think. Okay, opponent's playing Giant Artifacts deck. Which is slightly concerning. I don't think that we're very well positioned to deal with Skitter Swarm. But then again, not playing Invoke Justice might be a better way to try to do Angels things. I actually really hope they draw 2 cards here. Thank goodness. I need my 2/2 quite a bit. Alright. Draw an Angel. Didn't draw an Angel. Bummer. Drew an Angel. Hardcast Angel? Oh, I hate that Mightstone and Weakstone kills this Angel. Why's our Angel gotta be so vulnerable? It doesn't really feel fair. At least if it dies to Mightstone and Weakstone, we can actually invoke Justices, though. There's something. Alright, now would be a real good time to draw Brothers War, or not War, Bitter Reunion. Then we can give Fable haste and copy Sanctuary Warden, and that would be cool. I'm also beginning to get the impression that Wedding Announcement is just way too slow and also bad in this deck, and I should replace it with something else. Okay, Okay, there's a Cityscape Leveler. So I get 2 Power Stones. And presumably they kill Warden and then I reanimate Warden? That's kind of fine. Ish. Oh, okay. I'll take 16. Very well. Do I have any way to use Power Stones? I do, actually. I have Sacking Bitter Reunions and Activating Fable, so the mana is usable-ish. Could be worse. Let's see, I want a Wandering Emperor to get rid of Reflection. If I Wandering Emperor from hand, get rid of Reflection, then I would have to sack the Wandering Emperor if I wanted to draw a card and make a 1/1. And I kind of want to draw a card and make a 1/1. Alternatively, I could Invoke Justice, but then I don't have a very good answer if they Cityscape Leveler blow up my Warden. So I think that means I'm just supposed to sack my Wandering Emperor. Gain 2 life, kill a thing, make a 1/1, draw a card isn't so embarrassing, right? Ooh, hey! Utility for the Power Stones. Delightful. More 1/1s. We need to be able to do lay down arms stuff. 3, 6, 8, so they're 1 mana off Skitter Swarm. Oh no, they've got Mightstone. They are not even close to 1 mana off Skitter Swarm. So we might get hit by Skitter Swarms, is... Want Wandering Mind? Huh. I was kind of the impression this deck wanted more 3-drops that made mana, personally, but okay. It feels like Wandering Mind doesn't fit my idea for how that deck is supposed to curve out at all. It can't find your top end. The only thing that it finds on curve is Mightstone and Weakstone, and doesn't ramp into Mightstone and Weakstone. Like, every other hit for Wandering Mind is like a 3-drop, and you don't really want to play 3-drop into 3-drop? And it doesn't crew Bankbuster? I don't know. It doesn't feel like that fits to me. No, my Reflection copying Sanctuary Warden. It was going to be so fun. I kind of have to play Wandering Emperor here. Since I want to be able to draw a card with Sanctuary Warden.
I hope you're ready to lose. Strike fast and strike hard.
Could remove a counter from Wandering Emperor. Don't think I want to. Ooh, Braid seems fun. Should that blow up Mightstone? 3, 6, 9. They can still Skitter Swarm if they top deck it either way, but it stops them from drawing from Bankbuster. I can't Fable and hold up anything. That's concerning. We're not dead to Leveler, because the Leveler won't have haste. We're not that sad against Leveler because we can just reanimate the Sanctuary Warden. If I'm going to Abrade, I might as well Abrade the Mightstone now. Skitter Swarm we can kind of handle. I guess we don't really need to have shields up here. 3, 6, 3, 2. Actually, we did, because they can totally go Brotherhood's End and Skitter Swarm for lethal. They have exactly enough mana to do that. Now they don't. Okay. No pain, no game. Thanks for the rate. How did the stream go, if I might ask? Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I completely noticed they had white mana this entire game. That does sort of change the deck a little bit. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for stopping by. You join us attempting to explore red-white, very few creatures, Sanctuary Warden, Reanimator, in the hopes that that gives us an angle against Grixis, which so far the deck's been functional, but the angle against Grixis bit has not really worked. Yeah, okay, so Wandering Mind finding Teferi is at least a curve that sort of makes sense, even if I'm not sure that either super works with what the rest of the deck is doing. Or at least, I don't know if either is super necessary for what the rest of the deck is doing. You can probably get rid of Eiganjo at this point. Hey, more angels. Delightful. Okay, let's see. Give the 2/2 first strike, or at least attempt to. Go to combat.
New moves to teach you.
Okay. Sanctuary Warden down. It's a bummer the Lay Down Arms can't hit Planeswalkers. Also, wait, Fading Hope? That wasn't in the deck that I recall. So this must just not be the blue-red artifacts list. It must be something that's just taking inspiration from that. Okay. Well then... I guess let's moderately inconvenience this Teferi a tiny bit. Oh, that's a good point. I forgot Skitter Swarms have Trample. Yeah, that card is good. That makes the card better than if it wasn't good. Keeping the Wandering Mind, losing the thing that crews the 4/4. Curious. What am I supposed to make out of that? Just actual, real counterspells. Huh. Alright. And one that exiles for my Invoke Justice. I guess I'm getting main decked. There's a leveler. 6, 7. I really need to draw planes, I guess? This is a weird point in time to want to draw planes, but I guess here we are. They want to Fable the Wandering Mind with no Fable? Kind of get it, but also kind of don't know. It's ambitious. Alright. 4/4, go away. Would love if the opponent countered that, but opponent apparently doesn't want to counter that. Alright. Draw planes. Draw the planes. Oh, Bitter Reunion's very interesting. Alright. Well, that's not a plane. Oh, right. It's not a planes. I really hope they don't have another Dissipate in hand here. Okay, well that's a land. So we invoke Justice on the Sanctuary Warden. No Dissipate, please. Okay, 2 main deck counterspells. That's an issue. Can I stay alive after that? Probably not, because I don't have a plains. Am I gonna lose here specifically because I let Auto-Tapper tap all of my painless white mana and I can't pay 1 mana to exile this Wandering Mind without going down to dead to Cityscape? Is that what's gonna happen? Block 3, take 5, go to 1. No, I have to lose my Reflection because of this? Or sack the Bitter Reunion. I guess sacking the Bitter Reunion's probably fine. Oh, if they think to tap my creature down with Teferi, I die too. That's rough. Alright, so need to dodge them. Thinking to activate Teferi pre-combat. Nope, they notice lethal. That's no good. Now we need them to not target one of the 1/1s with Cityscape. And also not have Mightstone? Nope. 2 Dissipates. Wow. I think we were totally fine if they didn't have the second Dissipate. Granted, we did still need to hit the land drop. Maybe it was safer to go for Restoration? I don't think there's a world where I'm supposed to play around the second Dissipate, though. And we still get pretty close to losing with Restoration if they just dissipate the Restoration. Yeah. I suppose that's not terribly surprising. If you build that deck to have a bunch of counterspells, I don't know if it makes that deck better, but having counterspells is very good against this deck that's basically all about resolving 5 and 6 drops. I don't love that despite all the changes we made to make this deck have a game plan against Grixis, it's still fundamentally weak against counterspells. Without much in the way of a way to go under counterspells. Maybe I should try cutting the wedding announcements and playing some number of... What's that card? The 3/1 2-drop that makes a treasure. But that's also going to require rebuilding the mana base. Alright, so opponent on Esper, this likely gets countered. At this point, I guess Restoration is the one that I'd rather get countered. It's also kind of inconvenient that when we're on the play, we have no capacity to ever play around a counterspell because none of our cards have flash on turn 3. I mean, we can definitely just keep running our cards into counterspells, which is nice in the sense that that actually does just mean that they don't have as many counterspells later. Kind of want to make this land drop. Kind of don't want to... I think missing my land drop when my opponent already missed their land drop is kind of fine. As far as setting up resolving Fable goes. Oh, cool, no counter. Perfect.
I'm not overconfident. We must protect the people.
Volume ought to be fine on my end. Though I suppose if you think I'm muted, you probably can't hear this. Let's see. Combat, swing with a 2/2. Still not really expecting the opponent to have Make Disappear here. But might as well play around it just in case. At this point, I think Make Disappear... Or I think Bitter Reunion's discarding Bitter Reunion. I think we're actually just going to try to hardcast Sanctuary Warden. Ooh, Invoke Justice is nice. Alright, let's... +1 here. I'm assuming no removal. What does the opponent have that they can't do anything? Okay, sure. Board wipe? Discard up to 2 cards. Yeah, okay, Wedding Announcement has to go. I think this card just doesn't synergize with the game plan. Oh, I should have discarded more. I forgot we didn't have... No, wait, did we already have the planes? We already had the planes. I'm just going insane. Yeah, okay. So we remove a counter and then put a 1/1 on Sanctuary Warden.
Big mistake. Strike fast and strike hard.
So Grixis command blows up Sanctuary Warden in the 1/1, I guess. And then we get to copy Sanctuary Warden twice? No? Okay. I mean, all of this seems pretty good for the most part. One creature dead, so they have removal spell for the Kiki Jiki. Go ahead and get back Fable. Put a bunch of counters on Sanctuary Warden. Make a 2/2. I think we just swing here and don't try to do any nonsense with Reflection. I want to activate Bitter Reunion in response to a removal spell. Don't think there's a very significant difference if Sanctuary Warden is a 10/10 or a 9/9. Okay. One shield counter gone. Very well. One shield counter remaining. Oh, farewell. Oh, that's cute. all creatures, enchantments, artifacts, not planeswalkers. Alright, well, let's go ahead and sack Bitter Reunion. Copy Sanctuary Warden and draw a card. I have no idea what my opponent's playing that's main decking Farewell, but okay. We will play the Wandering Emperor mid-range game, I guess. Kind of wonder if discarding Warden to Fable and then invoking it plus giving it haste was a nice turn 6 line to get a bash for a million damage and draw faster. Trying to remember what the board state was like there. I don't think they gave the impression of having a counterspell, but I don't remember whether they had 2 mana up or not. If they didn't have any mana up, maybe that was worthwhile. But I'm also a little nervous that that might have been playing kind of loose if they could counter Invoke Justice. It'd be easier to think back about lines like that if I, like, had any short-term memory whatsoever. Alright. Let's just push damage through. No cut down for the opponent to deny us our 2/2. Go for the throat by the looks of it. Eiganjo. Okay. We play out the plains to play around Quench. No swings. That's moderately inconvenient, but okay. Don't think we'll choose to put the plains into play tapped when we could choose to put the plains into play untapped instead. Wedding announcement. Make a 2/2. Opponent's big into this control thing. Not that we've actually, like... I mean, I guess we've seen a reason for them to be all of the colors in Esper. Still playing around Quench. Restoration transformed. See if they've found a cut down. Not yet. Swing with a 3/3. I don't want to draw extra cards with Wedding Announcement, so I didn't want to put it on the 2/2 and swing. Sure, first strike damage. Happens, then we Abrade. That way they can't blow us out by countering Abrade via killing the creature before it does the damage. And our creature still doesn't die. We have 2 Bitter Reunions and 2 Fables gone, but we still have a fair amount of deck thinning in the form of the other 2 copies of each of those. Creatures go bye-bye. We get to Invoke Justice. Restoration, I guess? Make a 2/2. Invoke Restoration. Restoration is a lot more of a 2-for-1 if you actually have 2 drops you care about getting back. I am beginning to find. At least Cabaretti Courtyard is in the deck to be a deck thinning tool for our Restoration. Wedding Announcement flips. 6/6 down. 2/2 up. Not a fan of invoking Restoration. I feel like we are unlikely to be able to discard anything relevant to it in the future, unless we drew exactly Bitter Union, I suppose. Getting this creature working, I kind of feel like is sort of valuable, and getting to deck thin a number of times also felt kind of valuable. Can I play the RCQ tomorrow at Mox? Maybe? I don't know, there's contextuals to that question. Wait, is there an RCQ tomorrow at Mox? On a Thursday? That would be strange, but also thank you for the resub. I appreciate the support. Alright, let's keep making tokens.
Keep watch for intruders.
Do we give the token haste? No, we probably want to give Restoration haste, if we're giving anything haste. At Mox, it's Pioneer, I'm Jake. Okay, okay. Why tomorrow? Has anyone ever done an RCQ on the weekdays before? That feels kind of insane. Maybe it's genius. More board wipes. Opponent's just in there. Don't think I'm gonna lay down arms the human token. Let's go ahead and Wandering Emperor, and then let's Bitter Union. Oh wow, I can push 10 damage through here if I wanted to, assuming the opponent didn't have interaction. If I could do one more point of damage, I actually think that I would go for it. Oh, Christmas weekend, yeah, that might... Oh, they delayed the original date? Oh, right, right. Did they delay the one that they got flooded? Is that what had happened? Because that kind of makes sense if that was the one they delayed. For those of you who don't know, the Mox boarding house in Portland, Oregon, at least I believe, flooded. And I'm putting together my context clues, had to delay the RCQ that they were holding on the day they got flooded. Alright. Opponent makes more 1/1s. I am not quite... Wait. Do I have lethal here if the opponent has nothing? I think I have lethal here if the opponent has nothing. Do we go for lethal here? It seems kind of unlikely the opponent has actually nothing, right? I could lay down arms a token. Okay, well now I feel obligated to go for it because they're using cut down and I really want to fizzle the cut down. Oh shoot, they got something? Wait, if that's a make disappear, can I play around make disappear here? I was really hoping it was a second cut down and I could fizzle the second cut down with another Wandering Emperor. Ah, bummer.
We've got the edge in this fight.
Oh, wait, no, lay down arms causes them to gain life. I don't know, lethal. I don't know why I'm forgetting. I keep expecting lay down arms to not have a downside because you have to go through so many hoops to make it work, and then it doesn't even have instant speed, that I keep forgetting it has more downsides on top of that. What are ways to stop Nykthos besides Field of Ruin and cards alike? Killing their stuff. Or countering their stuff. Not allowing them to possess stuff is the best way to counter Nykthos. But best and most feasible are not the same question. Oh, hey, cool, we got there. Well, we successfully out-card advantaged Control to death. So that's something. Whatever you're testing angels. We decided while testing angels yesterday that aside from just curving out upon them and then making their life total 0, we elected to try 4 Archon of Emeria in the board. Doesn't matter how much mana Nykthos makes if they can't spend the mana. Now, after additional testing, perhaps that may turn out to not be the most effective method, but that was the one we settled on attempting to test out next. Skyclave Appy is definitely good, and more Brutal Cathars could also be an interesting option, yes. I think I would want Brutal Cathar after maxing out on Skyclave Apparitions against Mono Green, if that was to be the attempted strategy, specifically because Brutal Cathar doesn't hit Karn or Kiora, and that's like a relatively meaningful difference, I think. I keep forgetting to replace this wedding announcement that isn't good enough. Alright. We're playing against Grixis Esper, huh? Interesting. What to make of that? Yeah, I think Wedding Announcement kind of requires you to be a deck that plays a 2-drop creature for Wedding Announcement to be impressive. It's weird, because my initial assumption when including Wedding Announcement in the deck was that Wedding Announcement was a very powerful card against Grixis very frequently in a lot of the decks, but I'm now starting to think that it actually is more contextual than just automatically being good. Once again, we're left this conundrum. I feel like I should make the assumption that it's safe to discard Sanctuary Warden here, because I don't actually think the opponent's Grixis, I think the opponent's Mardu. Isn't that the only Triome Mardu can use? Yeah, but can't you build a Mardu mana base that just doesn't play Triomes? Now that we have like so many Pain lands and so many of the Innistrad duels? Either way, I think the lesson is that it's safe to discard our Sanctuary Warden and get benefit out of our Cabaretti Courtyard, putting a card in the graveyard for our Restoration of Eiganjo to use. Snag a Plains. Play a Plains. Could lay down arms. Do I want to? I don't really want a Wandering Emperor. I suppose I don't not want a Wandering Emperor? Maybe I want a Wandering Emperor. Maybe I should want a Wandering Emperor. The win con is Sanctuary Warden in this deck. I would say that's probably in most senses the main win con. But there's also Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Fable of the Mirror Breaker has a habit of being a weird backdoor win condition combo with itself in any deck. See if the opponent uses removal spells to protect their Blood Tithe Harvester. They do not. They would rather draw cards with Bankbuster, which in a sense is understandable. Ooh. Do not have capacity to use that this turn, but sooner or later that Bitter Reunion will be fun. Alright. I'm going to choose to reanimate the Sanctuary Warden rather than the land. Yeah, the no creature in the title is... Oh, hey, cool, we win. It's in the sense that we're not playing early creatures that get killed by removal spells to turn on Corpse Appraiser. But I am finding that to enable Invoke Justice, we're having to discard the Sanctuary Warden earlier than I would like. Maybe Invoke Justice is not the appropriate direction, which would mean Reanimator just isn't the appropriate direction, to try to do Sanctuary Warden stuff if we are trying to be anti-Grixis. Maybe... Maybe it's just supposed to be ramp hardcasting Sanctuary Warden? I don't know that that's better against Quench, but it is at least better against Negate. Either way. Wedding announcements, go away. And now we're gonna really interrupt that title. I sat there for like 5 seconds trying to think of how to spell Reanimator and concerned that I couldn't figure out why it was wrong in my brain, and it felt wrong how I was trying to spell Reanimator. Now occurs to me the word Reanimator has an M in it, and lacking that was the problem. How about Circle of Confinement as a thing to discard? If Circle of Confinement had Flash, so it was actually good against Fable on the draw, I'd be interested, but I don't think just being able to discard a bad removal spell to Restoration is a strong enough reason to play Restoration. I would rather have removal spells like Abrade that are good, and by good I mean instant, those words are synonymous, or else proactive like Riveteers Requisitioner. Could go mono white and be more grindy. Yeah, but those mono white decks are kind of bad. I don't think that's an appealing direction. I'm not exactly sure how those decks are supposed to, like, function against anything other than... The one niche I've identified playing against them is that, like, they can beat decks that lose to Farewell, and they have, like, nothing else going on beyond that. Oh, that's a Battlefield Forge, not the tap land. Then do I get a mountain here? I probably get a mountain here. I'm probably going to need multiple planes, especially on the play, less than I'm going to need to not take 1 damage from every red card we play. Any thought to Cathartic Pyre? I think Cathartic Pyre is... the discard outlet for Invoke Justice is kind of interesting, but as far as that removal spell slot goes, I think we're so likely to just get incredibly bullied by Reckoner Bankbuster that I value being capable of killing Reckoner Bankbuster more than I value being a discard synergy. It may be strange that I'm doing nothing, because it is. But against an opponent who's apparently playing blue flash, I would rather have tried to get Wandering Emperor countered on the turn before I jammed 2 spells, or else resolve Wandering Emperor when the opponent taps out. Oh, okay. Well, that's annoying. I guess I'm going to do my best to force them to activate Karn Silex for 4. And then play 2 Restoration of Eiganjos after that. I think putting Wandering Emperor to 1 is probably the best way to do that, unless Wandering Emperor now gets marched and then they activate Karn Silex for 0, which would make me sad. How many ways to just actually kill a Planeswalker does Blue-Black have at instant speed right now? Is it just March? Oh, I wonder if this is one of those Micromancer decks, actually. I recall seeing some of those, but I don't remember what format it was in. And Micromancer would be kind of a cute synergy card with Karn Silex. Opponent really doesn't want to do anything. Getting a little concerned that I'm just going to get a Hullbreaker Horror cast upon me, and that's going to be like the end of my day.
Remember your training.
Alright, we've at least made their life total a little more precarious. That's something. There's no sensor effect in Standard, so let's actually get this Plains developed. That way we can probably try to discard the Battlefield Forge if they don't end up activating Silex. And it might matter that we get up to 7 Plains, because that might be the difference between being able to kill a Hullbreaker Horror or not. Okay, Wandering Emperor is cool. You know what? Micromancer encouraging you to play a ton of 1-drops would actually be kind of cool with Hullbreaker Horror. It's like, deck construction-wise, an interesting synergy. No, my treasure! I wanted that treasure to be able to do treasure things with. Shucks. Well, let's play Restoration of Eiganjo. Does that get countered? If so, I will just play Wandering Emperor. Vona's is the 1 mana kicker to 4, put a thing on the bottom of your opponent's library, right? And that targets Planeswalkers. That tracks. Alright, let's keep thinning these planes out of the deck. More Silexes. Okay. Well, do you counter Wandering Emperor since you got a Silex in play, opponent?
I've learned much during my travels. Let me show you. We must protect the people.
I think we just discard Battlefield Forge here and get the 3-1 back, probably? I mean, I guess they're going to be forced to Silex regardless, so maybe I'm just supposed to keep deck thinning? Oh wait, I can just Abrade Silex, can't I? That's probably a good idea. Alright. I was probably supposed to do this pre-combat and then uptick Wandering Emperor if this gets countered. Dissipate. Folks really playing Dissipate. Isn't there just... I guess this Exiles, but... Isn't the counterspell that if it's the second... If they've cast more than 1 spell, it costs 1 blue less, just like way better? Or am I really underrating the Exile clause right now?
Do the talking.
Is Riveteers a thing now? Riveteers is a pretty respectable 2-drop. I have not yet thought of a better 2-drop. I mean, I have. It's Teachings of the Kirin, but unfortunately, Teachings of the Kirin requires us to play Colors of Mana that I do not possess. More Dissipates. Yeah, that's unfortunately good. Okay. Well, keep taxing how many copies of Dissipate they can have. Oh, we're doing Witness the Future stuff in Best of One. And just trying to counter everything. Sure. Okay. Yeah, we can give that an attempt. Drawing Wandering Emperor. Oh, this was a mistake. I actually had enough mana to go for Invoke Justice and Wandering Emperor. Probably should have done that. Oh well. The opponent goes for the draw 3, or the Memory Deluge. We get to resolve Wandering Emperor. Don't like Sunset's Revelry? No, because Sunset's Revelry doesn't play well proactively on the play. And I think that having a certain number of 2-drops that are good when you're playing them on turn 2 is pretty important. Okay, sure. 2/2 gone. Okay, sure. Planeswalker gone.
Back to wandering.
More exile-based counterspells? Yes. Alright. Not in love with the continuing to have it, but I do understand it. Really need a creature in play to make this Invoke Justice better. There we go. That'll do. Fable. Yeah. Guess I can try to do 7 points of damage here. It's a bummer that's 1 damage too little. That's probably not the right call, though. Okay. We are not well positioned against a deck that's 50% counter spells, unfortunately. Being a deck that needs to resolve 5 and 6 drops is sort of structurally weak against that. Am I 1 mana short of going lethal here? Believe so. Requisitioner. Wandering Emperor. No, this is the one land that comes into play tapped, unfortunately. So we denied them the memory deluge, at least. Alright. And that's not a threat. I suppose I didn't do enough deck thinning. Let's see. So we have 2 Sanctuary Wardens, a couple of Fables left. Not the most likely they run out of counterspells at this point, but less likely things have happened. $32, $24, multiple copies of Devious Cover-Up. Do I have any ability to exile anything out of their graveyard in my deck? No. Lay-down Arms cannot target graveyards. How many copies of Wandering Emperor remain? That draws a card. We have 1 copy of Wandering Emperor left. 1 copy of Fable left. No, 2 copies of Fable left? Okay. So it still rewards us to hold on to a land. Or rather, Fable rewards us for holding on to 2 lands. Cycle Jetmirs. Bitter Reunion. Yeah, that's probably worth getting rid of a land, even if it means being... No, they don't have Farewell in their deck because they're not playing white. So... getting the Bitter Reunions on the board isn't a downside. The opponent's deck is not built to beat sweepers. Is not built to beat aggro. Like, I think if you're playing Devious Cover-Up, you're kind of just assuming you're never going to beat aggro, and that's kind of like a niche you're fine with. Which is not a terrible way to approach best of one. Just have a couple very, very strong matchups, and then a few that are not very strong. And by not very strong, I mean, like, unplayable. Alright. Found a Fable. No. Okay. At this point, I believe they can kill us before we can do lethal, even if they never draw another counterspell for the rest of the game. In this meta, I think being 0% against aggro isn't awful. I think being 0% against soldiers is probably pretty bad, but I'm not sure about it in the best of one meta. Though that said, if we wanted to take this into best of 3, what have we learned for the sideboard on this deck? Not much, because I don't actually think I've learned anything about the main board either. We learned we wanted to try to make Brotherhood's end work against soldiers, I guess. Did we learn anything relevant against the Grixis decks? We only played one. Which is probably why I want to get out of best of one. Doesn't feel like it's actually a very useful testing environment for that ranks. Just not have a sideboard and play best of 3. Take the play, keep a hand, thin the deck. Graveyard hate? Yeah, I guess that'd probably be pretty important against mono blue, huh? I'd be willing to believe this deck doesn't have a chance against mono blue. Alright, opponent, I'm willing to do nothing. Opponent's also willing to do nothing? Concerning. What do I do if my opponent also does nothing? I guess I do nothing. Perfect. I would have loved to abrade the Bank Buster, but at least... Oh, hey, cool, we can abrade the Bank Buster. Now let's see, Restoration versus Fable. We would probably rather be Restoration gamers at first. That lets us convert Battlefield Forge into an actual Plains, which might be relevant. Blow up a Bank Buster. Gonna invoke me, opponent? Yep, that is a divination. And then discard a card. Divination that discards a card is not the best divination. Alright, still doing nothing for the time being. But our nothing is definitely okay. Really would have preferred to have gotten to slam our 6-drop Angel there. That would have been very, very powerful, but unfortunately we have not drawn any of those. More Invoke Despairs. Okay. This one's a draw 1, and they don't even have to discard to hand size because they get to make a land drop. Means we have no discard outlet. Alright, well, I guess we're Invoke Justicing back a Fable, because we are flooding out something heinous. And I am just that desperate for a loot effect. Hate that my opponent has so many cards in hand. There's some card advantage for me, at least. Alright. Let's see some real action. More lands. Okay. Lay down arms. Kindly get rid of their thing for me. Opponent discards a Corpse Appraiser to turn on their Corpse Appraiser. Yeah. So, unfortunately, it might turn out that... Well, I mean, I guess this isn't really card advantage at all for them, is it? Oh, it is, because they started it to Fable and then sacked it to Orp's Brazier, so it's kind of like 2 cards, which is kind of like card advantage. Might be that attempting to not turn on Corpse Appraiser turns out to just not actually matter at all. Which would be unfortunate if so. I'm just going to operate under the assumption that the opponent isn't main decking Grixis command and be really sad if they are. That's the current plan. Okay. They do not have it in hand at the very least. Otherwise, I can't imagine they'd be using Abrade there. I suppose Grixis command would also involve having to blow up their own Kiki. So let's see here. No, not Shaman. Samurai down. They don't get to draw any cards off of the Invoke Despair this time around. That's something. More reunions. Okay. Not ideal. Get a plains. Discard a plains. I'm not super excited about them. Oh, I am super excited about them copying Corpse Appraiser, because that's kind of useless right now. Alright, well, that could be worse. So worth sacking a 2/2 to me to get the Restoration of Eiganjo down. Yeah... No... No. Because if I try to get the Restoration down, they probably just counter it. And I'm not really excited about that life. Alright, Blood Tithe Harvester is a problem. Kiki didn't really do anything on board at the moment. They needed to have a Blood Tithe Harvester in hand for the Kiki to be relevant. That's why I wasn't concerned about killing it. But they did have one in hand. Alright, so Bitter Reunion, get back Bitter Reunion, because I need an untap land here. I really don't want this Riveteers Requisitioner, but I really don't want the Riveteers Requisitioner in the graveyard. Oh, Sanctuary Warden just dies to Blood Tithe Harvester. I forgot about that. That kind of makes the entire deck invalid, doesn't it? Oh. That's concerning. Well, at least it's still a draw, too. Okay. Well, now it's in the graveyard. So that's probably a bad sign that they have another Corpse Appraiser. Nope. That's gonna make life fairly impossible, eh? So how do we handle that? Draw another one. Hope they don't have a counter spell. Hope we draw into a way to blow up Reflection. That's a start. And another one. That's no good. And we still don't have a way to answer the Reflection. Or they drew all three, make disappears. That's a problem. We go to 1. Unless they can find a creature to crew, and then we go to dead. Alright, reanimate effect. Okay. That makes for a relatively large Sanctuary Warden. I actually think it was kind of wrong of them to activate the Reckoner Bankbuster there rather than use the Siphon Insight. Oh. Are we dead on board? No, not quite. We're just dead to a creature. That's a creature, unfortunately. Okay. Well, they'll have to see it. Oh, that gains trample? Wow, okay. Well, then we're dead. Man. After all that, we actually still got pretty close. But the triple make disappear. Jeesh. Alright, run it back. We still sort of have the fundamental issue of needing to answer both halves of Fable or we die. And our removal is kind of bad at doing that. Which might be a fancy way of saying Late on Arms might not be a good removal spell. Oh. That plus the whole blood thing. Yeah. The disappointing part is it's turning out that just not playing creatures actually isn't something Grixis cares about either. Which, definitely, there was always that possibility, but it's unfortunate to learn. Banishing slashes the nuts? Unfortunately, I'm a little dubious of that. No, I suppose I'm skeptical, it's dubious? Is that how English works? If Banishing Slash was an instant, it'd be better. Alright. We actually get a turn 3 Fable that they didn't have a counterspell for. That's pretty decent. Cut down. Look at that. I dare say. Yeah, this is an awkward position because I want to get rid of this Riveteers Requisitioner, but we sort of can't. Without, well, I hate turning on Corpse Appraiser, but I think I'm supposed to. I think I'm just supposed to pass Wandering Emperor on the opponent's turn. I think I'm just supposed to Wandering Emperor on my turn. Get out here. Alright. You know what? This is not a terrible start. The exchanges have been okay. That's a Shieldred. I can kill a Shieldred. Fable comes down. You lose a life. Play a Restoration. Get a Plains. Play the Plains. Kill the Shieldred. Kind of want to crack Bitter Reunion to deal 3 damage here, which is mostly irrelevant, other than the fact that I want Bitter Reunion in the graveyard anyway. Oh, no. Because they might invoke... Oh, no, they can't invoke to spare me! Because they played a Plains, so I don't need to save Bitter Reunion for that. Yeah, there's the Corpse Appraiser. And punished for the earlier discard, I guess. Alright, sack Bitter Reunion. I think I'm going to get more benefit out of Jetmir's Garden. No, I guess I'm going to discard the Jetmir's Garden here anyway. So I guess choosing which of those 2 lands to discard was kind of irrelevant. Alright, Invoke Justice. What does that give me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Kind of tempting to get rid of the Corpse Appraiser so that it's harder for them to attack Wandering Emperor without leaving themselves open to me getting a Restoration of Eiganjo swing. And we don't have as much of a good answer to Shieldred, but maybe that's just acceptable. I crew Bankbuster here, but that's fairly fine. I didn't really want to attack anyway. Oh, shoot. I guess I actually do have to attack, because I could Wandering Emperor here while they're tapped out, and I think killing the Bankbuster is pretty good to me. Yeah, they just choose not to block anyway. Sure. That all works. I think we played a land drop here. Blood Tithe Harvester, sure. Crew Bankbuster. Okay. Bitter Reunion, eh? Number 2, but I don't have anything I actually want to discard yet. Is awkward. Let's go ahead and uptick on Architect of Restoration. Keep it alive through the Blood Tithe Harvester. Okay. Find out if they have Go for the Throat. They don't. That's good. Sack Pit of Reunion. Combat. Swings. Make a bunch of creatures. Well, howdy do. That sure is all something. I'm surprised Siphon Insight stayed in against me, to be entirely honest. Sure, Reflection gone. Acceptable-ish. Requisitioner, sure. So, they have the capacity to crew Bank Buster, and I'm limited to one red source here. That's actually more annoying than I would have expected. Let's go ahead and discard the Requisitioner then. It's a lot of invokes that I can't quite use yet.
Keep watch for intruders.
Do I care about animating that? I put him to 2. I don't think I care about animating that. What are your thoughts on Curse of Silence for Grixis matchup as another enchantment is sacked to invoke and can slow them down a little? I feel like it doesn't do very much, and like the fact that you lose a card in a matchup where a lot of the time your game plan has to rely on going card for card with them is probably really not what you want. You really, like, the things that are good to sack to invoke are the cards that don't cost cards, like Bitter Reunion and Restoration and Fable. Well, mostly Fable. And there's nothing you can really name out of Grixis with Curse of Silence that's, like, hugely impactful. You can name Fable, and that's not terrible, but it's still kind of sad. Okay. Look at that! I actually just couldn't deal with a 4/5. Okay. This is cards that almost play on curve. Do kind of feel like I probably have to lay down arms here just to, like, continue to play my cards on curve and not just fall behind against Quench Pass. If they play Fable, we kind of lose. But if they play Fable on 3 on the play, we kind of lose most of the time. Always? So, that's nothing new. If there was a card you could sack to all 3, that'd be ideal. I mean, that's just 5 mana Elspeth, isn't it? Cabaretti Courtyard, gaining life and thinning the deck. Everybody's favorite constructed staple. I was supposed to discard a Battlefield Forge to do that, so that I would have more planes. I kind of got so excited about singing a song, I forgot how my deck is supposed to work. Why are we running her? Because you need to run creatures. And that was supposed to be how we were going to get an edge against Grixis, was not running creatures, but then it turned out that didn't actually matter at all, so, like, everything sucks, oh no. Okay, that's fine with me. We got a minor advantage against Corpse Appraiser, yay! We did it! Alright. Time to find out if just playing a bunch of 3/4s could possibly be good enough. But also the opponent's probably just gonna play. Oh, they don't have Invoke Despair! Huzzah! Wow. That wasn't even a Shieldred. How about that? Alright, for starters, discard planes. Gain a life. Thin the deck. Discard planes. Gain a life. Thin the deck. Go to combat. Swing. Make a 1/1. See if opponent double blocks. Sure. Cool. I love the opponent having an auto yield set up there. That's great for me. Alright. Opponent cannot handle the power of a 4/5. Alright, nothing about that felt favored, but it makes me happy. The power of a Restoration of Eiganjo. The thinning and the 2-for-1s. And the opponent not having, like, any cards in their hand that do anything, mostly. Alright. Regretfully, I think it is time to retire this. The synergy with Bitter Reunion was very cute, but yeah, the rest of this just, like, didn't fundamentally feel good. At all. Sadly. But hey, attempting to test things for the purpose of gaining information about them, and gaining the information that mostly they don't work or matter, is learning.